Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting show of the Grind and Grow Show, the show where real business owners share the grind behind the growth. No fake success stories, no overnight wins, just honest lessons, hard truths, and the methods that actually work. So, if you're building something from the ground up, you are in the right place, and a very exciting episode coming up for you, ladies and gentlemen. I am blessed and honored to have a very special guest with me. And I'm going to have a bit of a did you know moment with our guest today. Saskia Riley, welcome to our show. The first did you know? Did you know that you are our first female guest of honor on the Grind and Grow show? So welcome.
No, no, I didn't know at all. It's such an honor, Garth, and I'm so excited to honestly be here because this is, that especially what the podcast is based on and the theme around the podcast. This specific entrepreneurial journey is a very long one. It's one of deep legacy work. So what you're doing right here, this is going to go down history, down legacy. So I'm so excited for you.
Thanks so much for having us. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today, Saskia. We really appreciate it. And as you know, right, the Grind and the Grow show is all about the stories and how we use your stories to motivate others and inspire others to actually start their own journey of their own as well. So I'm very honored and thank you again for making the time and taking the time to speak to us today. And hopefully we can reach out to many out there to start the awesome journeys ahead. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
So Saskia, I'm gonna go through some journey with you, and I'm gonna speak about actual that right, the journey. So you've been in the entertainment industry for over 25 years, which is a lifetime for some. What
I know.
moment made you realize that this just isn't a career anymore? This is a business.
That's an interesting question, and I say that quite lightly. And this is because when we say over 25 plus years, people are thinking, how in the world she barely even looks 30, maybe? But I hope. But I'm
No, you
33,
do,
so
you
you
do.
can
We
imagine.
we we.
You were saying?
I say we agree with what you just said now.
Thank you. So I'm 33 at the moment, turning 34 this year. So I'm sure people are wondering why 25 plus years. And that's because I actually started at a very young age. I was a child performer since the age of 4 years old. And it
Oh
started
wow.
in the community. I grew up in Lavender Hill in Cape Town. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
from the Cape Flats. I know what it's like. And
You're
I
around the
know the
corner. I
challenge.
was in Grassy Park.
Yeah. Oh,
So I
yes,
was
I know
around the
what that
corner from
is.
you.
Amazing. Same. Same. So I grew up, I think, in an environment where I think most of us that grow up in the arts, it's like sometimes the only thing that we have, And
Hmm.
I started at the age of 4 years old, and it started just in my community. My first performance was in Creche in the musicals, and then it
Oh wow.
grew into many musicals from then, theatre productions, and I ended up studying at Waterfront Theatre School while I was at high school and primary school. So I studied the arts, etc. So I've been in theatre productions. I've recorded the demos. I did all those things. I did the voiceover work and all those type of things, and ended up on dabbling in radio and all those fun things. But I would say, like, it's interesting when you say, when did the bug bite? Because
Yeah.
it didn't feel like there was any other way for me to be. I don't know any other way. So it was
Yeah.
interesting because I thought that this is just the way we live, just the way we express ourselves. This is just, you come here to this earth and that you just sing or you just dance or you just act. I didn't think that this is like an actual skill that you work on over time. So
Yeah.
for me, it just fell into place. It just fell into my lap. I was just my grandfather, he tells me a story about how I was playing in the garden somewhere at his house. And he just speaks of how he heard me imitate certain, sounds and things like that. And that was younger than 4 years old. And then he knew she's going to be in the arts. She's an artist. And I think I wouldn't say I left the industry, but I went behind the scenes to help others find that I think more so find their unique imprint, because every artist has a unique imprint. They have the certain message that they come with, right? So growing up, that's something for me. I don't think that I knew that I had that imprint. Only a lot later, maybe as a teenager, did I know, oh, there's a business to this, there's a game to this. And I must be honest, the game ate me up alive as this innocent young girl, this innocent young girl exploring with middle-aged men as artists, singing on the same lineup as an example. And also coming from a lot of my background and the daddy issues and all those things, but I'm sure we go into that and how this affects business. But but I think I'm just going all around, like in a 360 holistic level understanding of this. But it was always there. My understanding of the art was natural. It was the way I spoke, right? And then eventually I realized as a teenager, when I was mentored by some of the best people in the industry that we know today, mentored by them and understanding, oh, there is a strategy to this. Oh, there's a way to actually monetize as an artist. But now I think the understanding now is going more to how do we monetize this in a healthier way that is beneficial for legacy building, right? And how do we create impact for others? So I think as a teenager, I would say is when I understood that there's more to this, that there's actually a deeper calling. And I tried to follow that. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think it's to your point as well, and maybe this is gonna link up to my next question I have for you, Saskia, is that like you mentioned that you started at a very young age, right? You started performing at a very young age. When did you begin to understand the power of a personal brand or personal branding?
Once again, that was always there. Always there. I think that I was packaged from a very young age, and that is very dangerous, but at the same time, very fruitful. So it has its strengths and its weaknesses. So when I say packaged, it just, sometimes there's a narrative in families that this is the one that's going to, carry success forward, or and we know that happens in colored communities, in our people of color. We wait for this golden goose to be born, and she's the one
Ek is so trots van my kind gaan dit maak.
Exactly. So they invest so much in you and they put everything into you. You must be the most talented, you must be the most educated, you must be the one that goes to the best schools, etc. So, and a lot of the time my people from Lavendale are like, there's no way that she's from Lavendale. She's an exchange student. She's not from Lavendale. So I get that all the time. Even, I know it's hilarious. I get that all the time. And then I'm looking at them and I'm like, if you were to see me when I was a teenager, when I was a child, yes, looked after, very well looked after, but I was playing in the same road. I was playing in the same road just like everyone else. I was going to the same corner shop. I know that game. I know that understanding. It's just my family gave me, particularly my mother, gave me an upbringing where she wanted me to experience other alternatives, the rest of the world, the rest of South Africa. So I always came back home with the understanding that there's more than what I am here. There's more than what's actually happening here. And I think I'm straying away from your question a bit, but there is like a certain packaging that I was naturally born into. And that's how I understood, I think, the way I operate in my career, where I need to go, what suits me, the strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that my personality gets me very far. I understood that my charisma, my playfulness gets me very far, and that the way that I articulate or the way that I speak gets me into certain rooms. And that's just the package that is there. And now it's interesting because we're
Yeah.
going through a deep shift in personal brand development where we don't want the packaged persona anymore. We want them to be raw and authentic. So I got to the place literally last year, or maybe 3 years ago max, got to a place of understanding where I'm creating like a perfect understanding of myself, which is not right. I fail. I make bad
Mm-hmm.
decisions
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
do too much sometimes and I'm ungrounded or whatever it is. And I'm going to own
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm going to heal that. I'm going to
Yeah.
work with that. But also at the same time, I joke around. I'm playful. I understand my people. I understand Lavendale. Understand who's around me. It just happens to be that I'm a little bit more rounded in my, I have a different accent, you know? It just happens to be
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
that way inclined. But I was like, how do I still, how do I articulate my heart from a personal brand, which is open, which is ever loving, no
Mm.
matter who you are, which is loving
Yeah.
to the street sweeper, is loving to the most successful CEO or celebrity that we can find, you know, is loving to whoever's around me, and that I wasn't portrayed as just this polished colored girl that
Yeah.
sounds with a polished accent and all those different things. I really wanted to be what my heart is and how I express myself and how much I love just whoever you are, you know? So
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
branding in a large scale is taking an interesting shift, and I think it's very good because more people are embracing their authenticity. Unlike before, when I know what it's like to be polished, we are telling true
Yeah.
stories that are going down in history, true stories that, you know, in the past, and obviously you and I went there probably, maybe in spirit, but, you know, in the past, in our lineage, when we sat around the fire, we would tell stories. There would be an elder telling stories, you know, and it will be stories of truth, stories of deep authenticity about our culture, where now it's like, now we're telling like polished versions of things. So the way
Yeah.
personal branding is taking a shape right now, where we are coming bare, no makeup, whatever, scruffy hair, let it be, you know? We're coming completely raw and we're saying these are the challenges that I'm facing. And that in itself is creating a credible personal brand. So
Amazing.
the polished version, I don't think it's working. We're not looking for that. And I always say, and I've been saying, that the future is human, especially in the world of AI. The future is going to be human. We're going to be looking for hugs. The people that are going to make the most money are people that come to cuddle you and you pay them. There's real businesses like that. Even
That's a good one.
South Africa,
That is a good one.
it's going to
That
pay
is a
people
good
to
one.
hold our
And
hands.
Saskia, this is amazing what you're saying, because I find so much truth in there, and obviously through the years, speaking to people in your industry, speaking to people in the tech industry, speaking to people in corporate, and you make a very important point. What distinguishes you as a individual
Mm-hmm.
with what you as a personal brand is exactly that. It's authenticity, it's originality, it's something that makes you unique. And
Yes,
people like that, because I don't want to watch 10,000 Bold and the Beautiful series on Netflix every day, because everything is the same, right? But
exactly.
what makes it different is there's something that entices me, that I want to gravitate to. You know what I mean? Which is which is really great, and
Yeah,
I think there's truth in it,
relatability.
100%.
Yeah, relatability. We all are seeking for a friend in this life. We're looking for
Yeah,
companion. And even just in this
100%.
conversation, someone's finding companionship in our conversation.
I hope so. That is our goal. And just on the topic, Saskia. So, in terms of your industry and the line that you work in, many creatives struggle to turn talent, what we just spoke about now, your package, into income, right?
Mhm.
What was the first real business lesson the industry taught you in terms of income?
Yes. In terms of income, multiple streams of income. When it comes to talent, you're able to literally fit in all spectrums of creativity. It's up to you to monetize that. So when it comes to, let's say you're a singer, you could do voiceovers, you could do characters, you could obviously, besides the bookings for your music, etc., all those different things, but you also a storyteller, so you see things in a certain way, so you're probably good for creating ads as well because you're quite visually inclined. So that's one of the ways that I would say is the first thing when I got into monetizing and got into the business side of personal branding, but within the entertainment industry. One of the first things I was
Hmm.
saying to all of my clients at the time was you have to create multiple streams of income because there's going to be a time where you might not be paid by a gig, but you've just modeled
Yeah,
last month or 2 months ago, whatever it is. So
yeah,
you've got income coming in. So we should be open to
yeah. That's
that. And I
amazing.
think, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, be dynamic is what you're saying, as
yes,
much as you can.
as much as you can.
That's amazing. And I want to go a bit more towards the business side of
Mhm.
things, right? So the business behind the brand. So we're
Yes.
going to speak about Huckleberry. We're going to speak about what you founded as a personal branding agency that later evolved into a broader small medium enterprise development platform, which is amazing, by the way. What gap in the market were you trying to solve?
It's interesting when you say that because when I created Huckleberry, which was first the Saskia Riley network, so we pivoted during COVID. The Saskia Riley network is now an umbrella company, home to Huckleberry, home to Healing Through Conversation, home to the Naledi Project, SOC, which is Save Our Children organization, etc., and Sacred Serenity. There's multiple different projects under the Saskia Riley network. So we started out as that, and at first it was a personal brand development agency, like you just mentioned. And we were
Hmm.
personally, or rather, we were person to person with the Saskia Riley network and doing events and strategy and all those things and managing personal brands. But then later during COVID, we obviously had to digitize a lot of our services. And my goal was to always separate my name from my businesses. And that's only because so that I could hand it over to other investors or other partners, etc., in future, because I won't be doing what I'm doing for the rest of my life. There's a
Yeah.
method to the madness that's eventually going to lead somewhere that I'll tell you in 10 years time. But literally was the need that I was looking to fulfill was the same need that I think I didn't know that I needed when I was a young artist, a young performer. I had the privilege, and I say that with so much gratitude, is that I had the privilege to be mentored on a weekly basis, had the privilege to attend a whole theater school. Not many people get to have that. And
Yeah.
I had, you know, the best mentors, still have the best mentors in the industry. So to me, it's like, and I noticed so many other performers around me making not the best decisions when it comes to the longevity of their brand and the longevity of their
Yeah.
career. but even just how you represent yourself, you know? So I was thinking that this is what I could offer. I could offer that sort of mentorship, that sort of incubator to others, because I know that I've experienced something that not many people get to have. And I just want to be the one
I'm
that
gonna, I'm
gives it.
gonna. That is right onto my leading question, and I don't want to go too far because I'm gonna forget to ask you this.
Okay,
So this, I like the flow. I like the flow. It's
let's
going to
flow.
plan. My my, my next question is, and you mentioned this in what you just said, right? About people, young people or young creatives making mistakes. When someone approaches you today and wanting to build a personal brand, what's the first mistake that they usually make?
They follow trends.
Ah,
They follow trends. That's the biggest mistake. Fads, trends last maximum 2 years. If you're lucky. If you're lucky.
mhm.
That's a really good trend. But 6 months to 1 year, and then they're trying to be, let's say, in Forex, and they're branding themselves as a Forex trader.
Yeah.
There's so
Before we
much
were
more to
throwing
that.
ice buckets, and now we forex
Exactly.
traders.
Exactly. But now you're branding and you're creating a whole social media platform based on that, right?
Yeah,
Something that has been tested very well, but it's still under a lot of development. So for you, it's like, how
hundred
could you
percent.
brand raw that you are exploring different mediums of cash flow, maybe, instead of
Yeah, yeah,
associating yourself so harshly, where now you're creating a brand that has longevity because that's something in you that you are naturally just explorative with, let's say, multiple income streams. But where instead you could just be known for that entrepreneurial essence that you have and not necessarily
yeah,
Forex,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's the biggest mistake I think that they make is following trends and branding them according to the trend. Because now what's the next step?
That is a good point that you make, and I
Hmm.
think, and you mentioned longevity. I think a word that comes to mind is sustainability as well. How do you sustain yourself? I think that's very important as well.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's easy to be the overnight success, right? But it's very hard to sustain and keep the brand going, like
Yeah.
you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and it's
So
interesting when you say,
Saskia,
hmm it's
yeah, yeah,
interesting
yeah.
when you
Go on.
say overnight success, right? And I like to challenge our thinking sometimes with that. When we say overnight success, and I know what you mean, I think you instant gratification, right? But
Yeah,
overnight success takes 30 years, takes 40 years actually, unseen. And
that is amazing because you mentioned that, and it's very aligned to what Carl told me in our previous conversation. It's very aligned to what Reddy D told me. People see the facade, right? They see the facade,
yes, yeah,
right? They see the front. They don't see behind the curtain in the backstage all those years of the grind going on, right?
yeah.
So it's a really, really good point that you make. Saskia, just to lead on to the next question, for someone starting today, right now, watching,
Hmm.
because I watch Grind and Grow podcast, I'm going to start my personal brand and I'm going to be amazing. What are the three pillars of a strong personal brand?
The three pillars. So I would say know your why. Why do you do what you do? It's very similar to business. It's actually identical in a sense. Know your why. It's okay to have a personal why in the beginning, but for longevity and for, I would say, for drive, it's important, and for motivation, it's important to know how you add value to others. So when you look at your why, it's how could I add value to the community, to the globe, etc., around us, right, and the people within it. So first, know your why, and it needs to be a heart-rooted why. And I'm taking a moment on this
Mm-hmm.
one because so often we're like, I just want to make money. And that's okay. That's okay in the beginning, because obviously we want to be rewarded, because why do we do it? And we need to, I mean, when we look at, and I'm going to go a little, I'm very conscious and stuff and spiritual in my being. So I'm often going to
See
go
you.
down that road. So many times we think that we have to fight, chase, compete for wealth. And this is sometimes why the wrong people get into business, is because they're there to grind, they're there to chase, they're there to, and grind in the negative sense, right?
Hmm?
They're there to fight for money. If that is your goal, you're going to be forever struggling, forever struggling. But if the goal is to add value to others, then naturally the universe, God, source, whatever you believe in, will respond with the resources to make that happen. But it does need heart. It does need heart connection, heart understanding to the things that you're doing. So the why is important. Then it is, don't worry about the how. The how figures itself out. I just said, like, the resources will come to you because you know your why and because it's so deeply rooted. Then look at what's around, right? So look at, I wouldn't say competition, but I'd say look at peers. Look at who's around you that you find inspiration from. Maybe it is the way someone, I don't know, the way someone dresses, their style, or whatever it is. Like, look at that and see how you can craft a unique personal brand around that. So it's not necessarily copying, but it's drawing inspiration of what speaks to you. And in that doing, you will find your unique, I would say, external essence, but also make sure that it's in alignment with your values, which is the third point. It should have been the second, but the third point is values. What are your values? What speak to you where you're like, that makes me really emotional because that's the need that I want to fulfill. And often it's linked to your why. So look at those two.
So what you mentioned about, there's something that you mentioned that I want to go back to, which is values, right? So you said, one should have values, and someone once told me something, and it was, I don't know, it was in some conversation, but he said was, you have to live life with purpose, right? And if you don't have a purpose, don't get up, don't get out of bed until you have purpose. And I think it's very, very, it speaks to what you just said in terms of have values and have that purpose that will get you through, right? So thanks for that, Saskia.
Absolutely.
I also want to speak about, so we're speaking about the business behind the brand, right? Because it's grind and grow. It's obviously, aimed at business ethics and how we can grow a business, how we can start a business, what lessons can we learn, and what advice can we take going forward, right? But I want to ask you in terms of, how do you balance authenticity versus strategy when building a brand?
That's an interesting question. It's interesting because because of going deeper into leadership development now, conscious leadership, ethical leadership, etc. I've been doing a lot of inner work to understand how things even move through me, teachings and all those things, right? And it's interesting because we looked at strategy as well, and certain strategies that work for, I think, that just any business, right? Whatever industry you're in, like, let's say we look at sales, it can get quite sticky when it comes to sales and pitching and all of that, and it can come across inauthentic because you're saying all these things to get a certain outcome, right? And that's just sales. And then there's strategy, which is a similar understanding, in my opinion. It's just the pretty thing. It's prettier than sales, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I've been dabbling in that, and I still do give a lot of businesses strategy based on what I'm receiving their business should do, etc.
Hmm.
However, it's taken a large turn based on how my personal development and how well I actually know myself and how well I allow intuition to flow through me. So it's interesting because I just wrote this the other day, and we were preparing blogs, etc., for Huckleberry, and we wrote something where it was about there is an innate strategy, internal strategy, that's already actually within you. The challenge is that we struggle to listen. We don't know how to hear that voice. We don't know what the inner compass sounds like. And especially now, since we're going strong into authentic leadership, it takes me to be even more authentic and align with myself even more, including my team member, Mphume, aligning with each other, like, or with ourselves even more than we ever did before. The work always gets more, the internal work, right? So we were looking at stuff and like what is the strategy for, let's say, Leaders Lounge that we're launching in June, which is a leaders incubator. And we're like, how are we going to launch now? Because before we launched things in a particular way and it was always well received. But there was a lot of strategy and sales jargon that was used there, where now the business is adapting because we're getting deeper, we're being more awake, you know? So it's like, how do we do that now? And the way I personally download strategy, and I say download because I literally receive it from source, and I go to the client and I say, this is what you need to do. Or I sit with my team member and I'm like, this is what you need to do. And then I check the research, I test the theory, etc., and I practice it, and then it ends up working over time. So you will literally find me at a forest with a book, and I just sit there. I just sit for hours on a Sunday morning, and I sit there for hours and I listen to the internal strategy. All the moves that I'm making in business comes from the internal strategy. I don't look at anyone else, to be honest. I'm not worried about what anyone's doing, except how we can partner. That's the only thing. So,
which is part of
internal, exactly, which is part of the strategy, which is the collaboration. It's the only reason why I'm looking at you. So, and I've looked at so much different strategies which can look exactly the same. And you can tell me now, right? Whenever you see a business and they start posting in a certain way, you know they're selling something.
100%.
When an influencer speaks in a certain way, you know she's selling something. Why do we want to be convinced? I solely believe that you don't have to convince others to believe in what you do. You don't, or your services. You don't have to convince in that way. What I do believe, though, is you can tell them how you can add value. That's the only thing.
I love
and
that.
Why you're there.
And again, we're coming back to value.
Yes.
If you don't bring value, then I don't think things could work. But you mentioned, and again, we're going with the flow. I like the flow.
Yeah.
We're speaking about strategy and what works and what can work and what won't particularly work. But I want to focus on the latter, right? What is the biggest obstacles South African small businesses face right now? In your opinion, what is the biggest obstacles that South African small businesses face right now?
Shoot. Don't come for me. Please don't come for me.
This is grind and grow. This is raw talk. This is raw talk. This is what we do.
Don't come for me. That's all I'm saying. Come to Leaders Lounge and I'll show you why.
And I want to know more details about this Leader Lounge as well. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
I'll tell you. So, sure. This is actually on a global scale also. This is actually on a global scale as well. But I don't think Africa, and yeah, I don't think African people understand the richness of their soil, of the soul that they're born into. They don't understand I would say, the way that they think and live. I don't think they understand how that is beneficial. And that puts us in a very good position for innovation.
Yeah.
I think there's
That
a
is
disconnect
amazing
from
point that you make.
understanding, yeah, and awareness of who we are. We don't really know who we are, and I understand our history. I know that our identity it's been stripped. We've been broken to pieces so that we forget that essence, that African essence, because the soil is
Mm.
like that. The continent of Africa, it is rich, rich, resourceful soil. Obviously, its people has been conditioned in the same way. So
Mm-hmm.
we are forgetting that we've been given the gift of resourcefulness. We've been given the gift of Ubuntu. We've been given the gift of collaboration, of community with each other. And right now, if we look at the globe in entrepreneurial, I would say in the industry, if we look at the globe, what is the
Mm-hmm.
one thing they're looking for or trying to build? Community, relatability, etc. So that's the one things that they're looking to build. They're trying to be more resourceful, more innovative. We've got problems here in Africa that we're solving, that Africans are solving.
Yeah.
But so many times we're forgetting that that is the inner power. We don't have to look outwards to go and compete with and to look at American ways of doing things or French ways of doing things. We're
Mm-hmm.
forgetting that we've been given that guidance just because of the land that we're on. So it would be awareness also, the awareness of who we are. We're still in the development phase of remembering that. And once an entrepreneur remembers the ecosystem that we're in, the environment, we'll be able to know how to be resourceful as entrepreneurs. We'll know how to be innovative. We know how to solve problems. Africans solve real world problems that the rest of the globe are still trying to invent. But then
Yeah.
there's somebody in a village that is literally getting water from mist and giving water to the whole village. That's literally what's happening in Africa.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
don't have the awareness that we've got it all.
And to your point, I'm going to maybe comment on that, and I'll tell you why. There's
Mm-hmm.
no space for innovation if there's no problem.
Yes,
Would you
exactly.
agree?
That's another
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's another
So
thing.
so let's. I mean, that's an amazing point that you make. But you mentioned and you touched on it again, going with the flow. You spoke about resources. You spoke about what we lack, right? But what separates those who survive? I'm speaking about just bottom line surviving from those
Yes.
who actually scale.
Shoot. So the difference between survival and scaling is your question.
Yeah.
So when you're surviving, you're going to look at things day to day. I'm sensing, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs start as. We always look at, the day to day things that we need to fulfill, the responsibilities that we have, etc. But when it comes to scaling, there's a lot of reinvestment that needs to happen. And it is feeding back into your organization so that your team can sustain the longevity of the business.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, in South Africa and in Africa as a whole, that's where entrepreneurs, I think, face the biggest challenge, is because of how huge our challenges really are. We honestly just want to put, food on the table. But then there will come a time where the entrepreneur is now awakened, where the spirit is now awakened through, because
Yeah.
I always say business is spiritual. So it's going to take you on that journey.
Yeah. 100%. That's
And
it. It's a great
Yeah.
answer. Saskia, again, to the flow. We spoke about the beginning, we spoke about the growth aspect, right? And this is grow, this is grind and grow. So we spoke about the grinding. I want to move a bit to the growth aspect now, right? Because it just goes with our theme. When we speak about a growth mindset, there had to be challenges, there had to be hardships, right? What was the hardest moment in your journey as an entrepreneur? And what did it teach you? We're going deep now.
You want to go there? Hectic.
So the hardest moment, and
Yeah.
what did it
The
teach you?
hardest moment. The hardest moment for me was when I built a business that was sustaining itself and money was flowing, money was looking good, everything was flowing in. I was moving to different places, different homes, It was looking so great. And then business decides to teach you something. And this was at least, I think, 7 years, 3 years ago, 7 years into business, I'm suspecting, and which was literally 3 years ago. And I became so fatigued and burnt out because of money, because of how much, and I would say not really because of money, but because how much I was actually having to work in order to sustain my lifestyle. And I was so overworked, I was burnt out, hallucinating, all those different things, right? It was really, really bad. And I was staying in the most beautiful homes that's very different to Lavendale, what I come from, very different from staying with my mom in a bachelor pad, loft
Mm-hmm.
pad, very different to that. It was my official, like, home that I can call my own.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
staying in Greenpoint, and we're staying in Fishhook, and we're staying in Scarborough, and we're staying in all those places, where it's good money to even pay for these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was getting so burnt out to perform, to show up on a daily basis. I was working early hours of the morning, let's say starting at 5 a.m. or maybe even earlier. I remember waking up at 3:30 just so I could start work at 4, sometimes waking up at 3 even, ending work only at 3, or rather ending work at 3 the next morning, maybe sleeping maybe an hour, 2 hours, not spending time
Wow.
with my friends and my family, not spending time with my partner on
Mm.
weekends. He was like so used to me just being on my laptop every single day for hours on end. I neglected myself. I neglected all the people around me, etc. And at the same time, I was calling in abundance while that was happening. So I kept on saying, I'm abundant. Money flows to me easily every day,
Mm.
whatever it is. I'm abundant. I'm abundant. But what comes with that, when we call on abundance, what comes with that is a system that was built on survival will end. So that system that I created, that version of me, of my career that I created that was based on survival, which is just getting money all the time, that is going to crash and burn and
Yeah.
everything in it. And that
Mm.
happened.
Yeah.
That happened to get me to the place of, okay, your abundance starts within. Now you're creating abundant life. I'm going to strip everything from you. I'm going to strip Huckleberry from you. And that happened. Huckleberry stripped away where we no longer had any clients coming in for a month,
Oh wow.
maybe even longer. No clients coming in. We have no clients coming in at all. Healing through conversation ended. I felt deeply sick and everything was stripped back. And I had to move back home. I had to literally move back home. I had to go back sleeping on my mom's blow up mattress because there's no space for me here. I
Mm.
had to go back home and I had to rebuild. And that rebuilding is now coming from, okay, we needed to strip that identity away from you because you are crashing and burning. So now what you need to do is you are now going to build from an awareness of teaching others this now. Now you have the lesson so that you can
So
now
your
teach
test,
others
your test became your
the
testimony.
test. Exactly. And now you're building from the inside out, where abundance is now what is inside of you and not something you have to chase. Abundance
Mm-hmm.
isn't out there. Abundance is what is within your heart. It is how you create things from your heart that makes projects abundant. And
Yeah,
that's how Leaders Lounge was birthed through all of that as well. But we'll go
that's
more into
amazing.
that. But it's from the place of, you can't build a life or a business based on survival,
Yeah,
especially when you're doing inner work and developing others. You will be tested. Business will teach you, and it's going to happen all the time. So I thought Huckleberry was no longer going to be there. I was ready to quit it all. I was ready to end it all, to be honest. And that's ended all from, I'm just going to be a stay at home mom.
yeah, yeah.
Not that that's a problem, but with a
Mm-hmm.
spirit like mine, that's very active, I'll get very bored.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Yeah.
And I thought everything was going to burn, and it didn't. We just
Mm.
pivoted like we always did before. We did that multiple times. And it's so interesting because outside, everybody was seeing all the successes and all those things, but I've
Yeah.
come back home.
Yeah.
You know, I've come back to my womb space, the womb of my mother, to heal, to rebuild, to start new. And those are
Amazing.
the things that's going to happen if you're on a legacy journey, I would like to call it.
Legacy. We'll get to legacy soon enough. But
Yes.
I want to ask you, what piece of advice you once ignored but later realized was absolutely right?
That's interesting. I'm going to take a moment for that because I am a lifelong learner and I listen to everything. I'm a very good student, a very, very good student. So it's very rare
Okay.
that I don't listen to something, except when it's from, people that I don't think has been on the journey. Then I don't. You must be selective with who you listen to. So I can't really think of anything right now. I'm sorry,
So
but it's more
nothing
so,
anybody told you and you said nope,
yeah.
not listening. And then a few months later you were like, oh, I should have actually, they were right.
No, I very
Nothing?
rarely. That's an interesting question because I very rarely have those moments. And it's only
That
because I'm on a very particular journey with my healing that I, I work on myself 80% of the day. So I
okay.
work the rest of the day, which is only 2 hours. I work 2 hours a day, 3 hours maximum, maybe even four. And the rest of the day, I am healing. So I work solely on a lot of emotional work, 80% of the day. And then I show up here and I've released everything and I'm a lot more clear. So I take a lot of time for introspection every single day, and often the
Hmm.
revelation happens in faster paces. So, and then it's literally like the next day and I end up doing it.
Yeah.
So it's nothing that is impacted greatly in that way.
Hmm.
Because I'm a lifelong learner, which is one of my mentors that has taught me that to be always become a lifelong learner. And this is why learning for me about myself, about my weaknesses, my strengths, learning about what's out there is really important for me. And that's 80% of my day now.
Hmm.
And only like 4 hours maximum to business. I don't tire myself
Yeah.
out anymore. And
Good
none of that.
advice. Good advice. But advice to those that's just starting out, that's going to be a tough one. So maybe let's just add a caveat to that one.
Exactly. Yes, that's going to be a tough one. I think lifelong learning, I would reiterate that, right? Lifelong learning. Become a
Hmm.
lifelong learner to avoid those detrimental mistakes of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with you. Shoulda would. Yeah. Let's erase that. Let's take that out of the equation. It only has to
Yeah.
be a shoulda.
Yes.
and a Huda. Right.
Exactly.
So we're gonna come to a segment in the interview now where I call it the quick fire round, right? So it's very quick answers, no thinking. I'm gonna ask you a
Okay.
few questions. It's called the quick fire round. So here we go. One branding myth that needs to die immediately.
That branding is dying. People are saying that
Okay.
personal brand development is dying. It's not. It
Okay.
will always be there,
Good one.
at least one.
Good one.
Yeah.
One habit every entrepreneur should build. And I know the answer.
Say that. Repeat that again.
One habit every entrepreneur should build.
Lifelong learning.
Thank you. Okay. One mistake young creators make on social media.
I'm under pressure. I can't think under pressure. You get. I struggle. I struggle with this. I take my time. I meditate. Okay, I meditate on things. This is moving way too fast. So creators follow trends, jumping on trends just like that. Yeah,
Okay.
without thinking it through if it fits them or not.
Okay. One tool or platform every entrepreneur should be using.
Please sort out your invoices. An invoicing app. An invoicing app.
And did you know, and this is not scripted, just to the viewers out there, we just released an invoicing accounting application that we've built ourselves for young small business entrepreneurs, a full accounting software, invoicing, quotes, etc. But that's a good one. So I'm just gonna put that out there from Grind and Grow. We have an application for everyone. So if you go to the
Wow,
website grindandgrow, you can see something there. I'm just saying that. I'll do that afterwards.
that's incredible.
So we'll speak after the show offline. Okay.
Yes.
Grind and Grow. Closing question, because I don't want to take your self learning time. Okay. Um, if you could give one piece of advice to someone grinding right now, trying to grow their business, what would that be? I think I know this answer as well, but I want to hear it again.
Let's see. I know I'm going to sound philosophical. I know. But guys, you have no idea how much everything is inside of you. Everything I've literally sold, every business I've ever worked with, every personal brand I've ever represented, everything came from within. Everything came from within. I'm someone that has never studied personal brand development. I've never studied marketing. I've never studied anything I do right now, So this is all literally teachings that I got inside, lived experiences, studying of people. I study people, though. That's the one thing I would say is that I
Mm-hmm.
study people
Mm-hmm.
and the way they think. I study philosophy. I study why people do what they do, and that has given me answers. So
Okay.
everything that I've ever done in my life, besides I think the arts, but even that I was just playing around. I haven't actually studied. The most successful people, they really have not studied. It was just birthed inside of them. I'm not saying that you should ignore going to institutions, etc., because it gives you a great network. It gives you a great testing ground. However, know that that is just the principle, and but the practical of doing things is something that's already within you, and you actually can enhance a lot of that just by following what's inside of you. We all have different strengths. We all have that innate calling. We all have that quantum wisdom that gets given to us. Take time, take 80% of your day like me. When you can. It's a privileged place to be in, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to deny that. It's a privilege for me to spend 80% of my day working on myself, even through transition. So I would say, do not forget, try to listen to that innate calling, because the answers literally all within you, all within you.
Amazing. Saskia, Riley, thank you so much. I'm not going to let you go just yet without giving
Okay.
you the opportunity to proclaim your brand. And where can we find you? Let us know
Ooh,
where we can connect with you. We want to spread the word on the Grind and Grow network and community. So your chance is now. Go. You have as
thank
much
you.
time as you can take.
Thank you. So, the first thing I'd like to say is to you, Garth, thank you, and to your community for creating a safe space for entrepreneurs like myself and creatives, etc. It's truly an honor to share because often it's quite an isolating journey.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I was dealing with just yesterday was dealing with the feelings of isolation, how this journey is literally you're on your own. However,
Yeah.
because of people like you, because of people like this community that you're building, we're able to do this together and hold each other in the moments where it gets a little bit, too hectic. So I thank you so much, and I'm forever grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you.
So, in saying that as well, you can find me best on my personal platforms, and there you can decide where you want to go afterwards. So you can find me Conversations with Saskia on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, Saskia Riley. You can find me on on Facebook. But from there, you can find out which business you like the most. So you can go to Huckleberry. You can go to Healing Through Conversation. If you want to heal, well, both is in healing, but different spectrums of it.
Yeah.
You can go to See My Partner, look at his comedic brand. There's everything.
And
Or
we're
you
gonna get
can
him
just
on the
see
show
what I
as
get
well.
up
Don't
to.
you worry. Yeah,
Yes, oh,
definitely.
that would
We,
be
we are going
amazing.
to follow you with a
Thank
very
you.
fine eye since our conversation. Saskia, I want to thank you again. An amazing conversation with you. It feels like I know you for years. Down the street from Laverdale, we walked down there and we
Exactly.
went to go visit each other by the bay on the corner shop. But thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and your insights and especially your humbleness. I really want to thank you for that and your originality and your genuality. I didn't even know that's a word, but thank you so much.
We'll make it a word.
I hope we made some difference today in this conversation to someone out there, and that's obviously our goal. And we would love to connect and collaborate with you guys as Huckleberry and you as Saskia. There's amazing initiatives out there. I want to just maybe take this opportunity to get Grind and Grow out there as well. We have a brand new website, grindandgrow.online. We actually have something called an idea hub where we're giving the opportunity and the platform to anyone that has a business application idea or anything. If you add it to our website, we get the network to vote, and Grind and Grow will build your application for absolutely nothing, right? And it's yours to keep and the network. So that's the first exciting thing. I would like to say follow us on TikTok. It's Grind and Grow, and Facebook as well. And we will have more amazing initiatives coming up soon. So just check out our website, and we won't have the last. This is not the last interview. I hope we're going to get more. But our first female guest, our first esteemed female guest on Grind and Grow. So Saskia, so much. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate your time. And I wish you all of the best and success and future endeavors.
Thank you so much.